The House will come to order. Prayer by the chaplain.
Good morning. There was once a great spiritual teacher who recommended that each of us carry around in our pockets 2 pieces of paper. On the first one, you're to write down on it, "For me, the whole world was created." How about that? And put it in one of your front pockets. On the other one, you're to write, "I am but dust and ashes." How about that? And put that one in your other front pocket. And the point is that life's journey is a balancing act, walking the razor's edge between pride and humility each day. And depending on the day, you'll need to reach into one of your pockets and read the paper and remind yourself of its deep truth. So maybe today you're feeling pretty good about yourself. Maybe all the things are going your way. Maybe you got invited to be the guest chaplain at the state capitol. What a big deal you are. Maybe you're the new gaveler for the day, I don't know. And maybe you're here and up to this point you know all the right things. You're very intelligent, you've been right most of the time lately, and you're here to tell us all about it. And maybe you think you might just live forever, and good for you. Maybe then you need to pull out that paper and quickly and quietly remind yourself and read the note, "My friend, you are but dust and ashes." Which is true, by the way. Each of us is made of dust. And probably within a few hundred years, we will go back to being dust, food for worms. And we will not be much more than photos on a wall or in an album, probably actually the cloud somewhere. You and I are just not that big a deal. So we can relax and have some humility because all of this is a precious, precious gift. But maybe today you're not feeling so hot about yourself. Maybe you're nervous about being the guest chaplain for the day in the Capitol. Maybe you feel a little like you snuck into all the places you've ended up in your life, and maybe you're not the smartest or the strongest or the wittiest. Don't point any fingers. And maybe you're afraid to speak up in certain crowds, or maybe you yell because you're overcompensating for the fact that you're feeling weak on most days. Maybe you feel worthless, overlooked, and small. So maybe you ought to pull out that paper at the end of the day and read for yourself. For you, the whole world was created. That God, this divine being at the center of all things, knows your name and thinks the world of you. That you are not overlooked. You're seen. You're not worthless. You are the first you in the history of the cosmos. You're the only you we have ever known. And because of that, you're a gift to the world, to this world. I truly believe that. Would you pray with me? God of dust and God of stars, today would you remind us of these 2 truths that we are prone to so often forget. And when pride grows loud within us, would you remind us that we are but dust and ashes, fragile and finite, dependent on gifts we did not ourselves create. Would you give each of us humility enough to listen and to learn and to serve something greater than ourselves? And when discouragement settles in, as it sometimes does, when we feel small or unseen or not enough, would you remind us that for each of us, the world was created, that we are known and loved and entrusted with a purpose by you. Help us remember that every person in this room carries dignity and worth and has a story that matters. Would you grant us wisdom to walk the narrow path between arrogance and despair? Give us courage to lead with both humility and confidence, conviction and compassion. And may the work done here today be marked by wisdom, goodness, and justice, and care for the common good. Amen.
The chaplain for today is my pastor, Pastor Ryan Braley from Central Lutheran Church, Elk River, Minnesota. Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will take the roll. The Chief Clerk will call the roll of members voting remotely.
Falconer.
Here you go.
Falconer present.
Falconer present. Hudson.
Hudson present.
Hudson present. Momani Hiltsley.
Momani Hiltsley present.
Momani Hiltsley present.
The clerk will close the roll. A quorum is present.
Yeah, and then we're recessing for caucus. The clerk will read the journal of the preceding day.
Journal of the House, 94th Session, 2026. 73rd Legislative Day, St. Paul, Minnesota, Tuesday, May 12th, 2026.
If there is no objection, further reading of the journal will be dispensed with, and the journal will be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. Hearing no objection, the journal is approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. Introduction of bills. The following House files have been offered for introduction today. The Chief Clerk will report the House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction of first reading of House Files 5140 through 5143.
First reading, House Files 5140 through 5143. Report from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration.
NISCA from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration, pursuant to Rules 1.21 and 3.33, designates the following bill to be placed on the calendar for the day for Thursday, May 14th, 2026, and establishes a pre-filing requirement for amendments offered to the following bill. Senate File Number 3720.
I recognize a member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Republicans, when we recess, we will convene in our caucus room.
I recognize a member from Hennepin, Representative Long.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Point of parliamentary inquiry.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry.
Madam Speaker, it has been 9 days since the Senate sent over Senate File 4067, which is the Comprehensive Gun Violence Prevention Package. I've asked a few times to try to determine the location of the bill, and I'm wondering if you could tell me where the bill is located.
Representative Long, there are a number of bills that the Senate sent over that are omnibus bills. It is with those others being reviewed.
Further point of parliamentary inquiry, Madam Speaker.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry.
So, Madam Speaker, yesterday we heard that the bill would need to move through committee to be able to get to the floor. And at the moment, it can't move through committee because it has disappeared. And I'm curious if you could inform the body how the bill will be able to move through committee if it is still being held in a drawer somewhere.
Representative Long, that bill is being reviewed and it will move through at the appropriate time.
Point of parliamentary inquiry, Madam Speaker.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry.
Madam Speaker, what would be the appropriate time for the bill to move to committee?
Representative Long, that is the Speaker's prerogative, and that will be announced to the body when it comes forward.
Further point of parliamentary inquiry, Madam Speaker.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry, Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, we do not have very many days left. It has been 9 days since the bill has been sent to us, and we have heard cries and pleas from Annunciation families and others that the bill be allowed to advance to the floor for a vote. It is in your control right now whether that happens, and I ask that you move that forward. I also announce that we will be moving to caucus as Democrats when we are recessing.
Representative Long. Representative Niska.
I move a recess to the call of the Speaker.
Representative Niska moves a recess to the call of the Speaker. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. The House stands in recess.